no silence.
Content! La 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 content!
Dave.
Yes, Boater.
What's the difference between movies and video games?
The difference between movies and video games. One's an interactive medium and the other one's a seated medium?
If a movie is garbage, it only wastes a couple hours of your time. If a game is garbage, it wastes 8 hours of time for everybody who shows up to the Call of Duty tournament. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerd Glasses podcast.
Hey! Hey! I'll have you know, sir, that right behind us... Just pack it in.
Oh gosh, it's there!
Exactly.
And it's going to waste an hour of time of everybody watching.
I'll have you know that I had a good amount of fun at that tournament, and I am very thankful for the chance to have gotten to yammer over top of
that was
what
great.
really did end up being a lot of very good teams.
No, it really was.
Like-
Okay, so for those that weren't able to come in, a couple weeks ago was the Call of Duty Modern Warfare tournament right here at the store, just outside that gate. And it really was a lot of fun. It was 8 hours, which I felt was a little exhausting, but then I was talking for at least 7.5 of those hours.
Exactly.
So if I sound like I've just come off of that, it's actually not because I'm hoarse from that. It's that I was sick a couple days ago. I'm fine now, but my throat is still recovering. So I've got this podcast, and then I've got the Citadel right after that. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I was definitely a little raw the next day.
You just keep yourself on that side of the table, then.
I did not cough to illustrate that was a real cough.
I am greatly looking forward to the next one,
Yes.
which is... Dan, is that not in January, the next Call of Duty tournament?
It is February 8th.
Ah! February 8th, which means no excuses. Rest up and get
there.
good.
Get there. Get good. Blame Steve.
What?
He hasn't gotten to it yet.
So I enjoy... I want to take a second just to thank Dan, because he gave me this, which you can't read, and that's why I am going to read it. CJ Playmaker, 8 hours of nothing, bloodshed, murder, and more murder. And then another mention of Steve. But Dan, I appreciate all the work you do to make us look like we're actually know what we're doing, and then I go ahead and just do that.
Good job, Dave.
I'm trying to just drag Dan onto the program. That's really what it is.
The next one is the 8th. The last one was a lot of fun. I don't know all the specifics. I know that there's some format changes. I don't know if you've got any on the plugs right there. I know there's going to be a little bit of format change so that it speeds up a little bit, but we have a team cap that is more than the teams that showed up.
This one...
Yeah, let's
Our
go
next
ahead.
Call of Duty
I'll let
tournament
you read it instead of me trying to
will
guess.
be Saturday, February 8th, streamed live on Insane Games TV, right here, ladies and gentlemen. So click that little heart, subscribe, and follow on Twitch and Facebook Gaming, folks. So if you don't necessarily have a Twitch and it kind of confuses you, you don't really understand all those things, you've got a Facebook. Everyone who had a MySpace has a Facebook. And if you didn't have a MySpace, you didn't have a computer. So... We are talking about the fact that there is a strict 32-team limit, which means if you sign up for 4 teams and you only bring 3 of them and someone else brings a team and then your friend rolls in, you're out. And I will not give you a 10 count this time. You'll just be out and I'll be screaming and laughing at you the entire time.
It's true. There was a good 10 count that everyone had a really good time with because a team decided they didn't want to actually participate in the elimination part of the tournament.
The best part, the biggest part, is this time around a $400 cash prize.
How many times is that compared to the previous?
That is double the prize money.
2 times?
2
times!
2 times the prize money! If you can't tell, Boater and I miss being able to make that. And speaking of which, while we're talking about a 2-time champions, I would like to take a hats off. And Boater, if you want to do a bit of a respectful nod to the only, the one, the few, 3-time champion and current reigning Queensberry football champion, Mike Batista. Hats off to you, sir.
Okay. So yes.
I do want to do something very interesting here, just to continue to interrupt Boater. I'm going to hit the subscribe button for Insane Games TV. And I am now the first ever subscriber to Insane Games TV.
How dare you let him get away with that? Come on, guys.
which means that once that starts to expand emotes and all those other things, it means that I'm going to get a really cool originator thing. So,
Stop making Dave feel special.
insane. Yeah, stop making me feel like I do something productive around these parts.
Speaking of, I'm not going to let you interrupt me this time. Speaking of being productive, I know that I will be announcing again at the tournament on the 8th. Dave, do you yet know what your schedule brings?
I was asked. I said that I would check with my agent, and my agent has not yet gotten back to me.
Cool.
But things are looking good. Saturdays I'm usually here anyway.
So we'll keep everyone updated on what that brings. We will keep everyone updated, as well as other people on the network. We'll let you all know what the updated rules are and everything like that. I spent all I had on these, and most of them were trying to Dave's stomach issues. So yeah, we'll let everyone know.
CJ Playmaker with the 3 bits cheered. The
time.
first bits ever to be cheered on Insane Games TV, but certainly not the last.
So yeah, we'll keep you updated on the tournament as it comes up. What else have we... Before we get into the meat, we got a couple topics that we want to talk about today. Talking about some video game movies, talking about our best games of this past year, and maybe even going in depth on one of them. But before we get to that, Dave, what other plugs have you got there from the Lord above?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, look
know where that
no
came from.
further. That one follow to this channel not only unlocks you some very good content, but more than just one program and more than just one broadcast team. The shows for the rest of this week, we've got tomorrow, the Ring the Bell program. We've got the No Look podcast. We've got the Weekend Wednesday. Starting Thursday, we've got Thirsty Thursday, Duty Calls, and Insane Games Live on Saturday and Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you follow one channel this month, make it this one. You're getting chocked full of so many programs. And in case you think to yourself, wow, I can't believe that I missed the No Look podcast. First of all, kill yourself. But before you do that, check on the programs and the podcasts on Insane Games TV here or on YouTube at Insane Games TV.
Subscribing does not get you free popcorn chicken. It is bring your own crate, but we appreciate the crate of popcorn chicken party. It's just really weird seeing big versions of our head above your head.
It's really funny that I said that's exactly what it's going to look like.
We're both over your shoulder, Dave. You better shape up.
Boater in alternate form where he likes Modern Warfare is is watching over me.
I got paid to wear that shirt. My payment was that shirt.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you think to yourself, I like Insane Games TV and I like Insane Games TV on YouTube, but wait, there's more. Again, that is, you can follow at YouTube at Insane Games TV, Facebook Gaming at Insane Games TV, Twitch at Insane Games TV _, Twitter at Insane Games TV, and Instagram at Insane Games TV, one word.
And, of course, going to the website, insanegames.tv, will bring you right to our Twitch channel as well.
Heck yeah. A question, CJ Playmaker. Alternate Universe Boater, do it play the Call of Duty? Does Alternate Universe Boater play Call of Duty?
I suppose. Probably.
Probably.
I mean, we're talking an infinite number of alternate universes.
So you're telling
there has
me
to be at least one that enjoys Call of Duty.
There's an alternate universe somewhere where Dan enjoys and knows what Gundam is.
Yes.
I know I'm not allowed to talk about it other than that,
It's
but
probably the same one where Boater likes Call of Duty and they still are just at crossheads.
just the weeb force transfers from one person to another.
Okay, so there was a very... Are we set with the plugs and the...
For now.
For now.
The plugs are satiated
we might get handed another sheet of paper midway through the program, but there was a very important development when it comes to video game movies. Now, of course, there was Sonic getting pushed back to spring, like most video games are. But there was also another really big development in movies doing things like games do. And that was a movie receiving a day one patch.
Now, Boater, what movie would you be talking about? It wouldn't be...
It was Cats!
Oh, God.
It wasn't a video game movie, but here's a game, or a movie. A movie that, had really, poor reception out the gate. And the studio's like, oh, you know what? That's a bug right there. We're going to fix that with a patch. Because, like, in the olden days, the way that movies got out to theaters was mailing a reel of film. And here you go. To the point where I used to go to a dinner and movie place in Glens Falls that got the obvious hand-me-down reels that have been, to half a dozen different theaters. They're scratched, they're dinged, their tracking's not quite right on them, they're all over the place. You can see just a lot of physical reels. Now everything is done digitally. Something with servers and cloud and whatever. And when when the publisher, or in this case the studio, releases a patch that it advised theaters to download. Now this probably happens more than we think. What this one did was like, oh, this one shot of a hand didn't have fur on it or something. It was a temporary shot or a previous version of a shot. This probably happens more than we think, but Cats was just so awfully received that it became like this big deal.
I can't just because that meme online of haven't seen a Blockbuster case in forever, says Mr. Wet. But I literally cannot. The fact that someone thought that that's what Cats should look like, because and trust me, as someone that worked in the performing arts, that's not even what the live action versions did, and they had way smaller budget, and they looked better.
The thing is that it's a creative decision, like it or not. That it's a creative decision.
Absolutely,
and so is how Sonic looked in the first trailer.
But it was bad.
But from what I hear on Tale of Production of Cats is that every single shot was good enough. Ship it. They didn't get it to that 100% because like every single shot is an effect shot. Good enough, ship it. And a artistic creative decision is one thing, and that's what a lot of people are complaining about. And obviously a small patch isn't going to fix that. This movie is doing terribly, I think, at the box office, but is so amusing seeing people going to it like, well, I'm high as balls and I'm going to go see Cats, wish me luck. Results in some of the greatest literature I've read. I was going to say all decade, but this decade is 7 days old, so. And the only other piece of literature I've read is a friend's book, so I don't want to quite go there. But it's interesting to bring up this, Cats got a day one patch at the box office. And to go into that and say, okay, so let's actually talk about other times that movies have been like video games, and more on the nose, video game movies. Video game movies have gotten a worse rap than video games that are based on movies.
Yep.
Video games that are based on movies certainly went through a dark age where they were just shovelware, but now are mostly respectable. Movies
or at least playable.
Yes.
At least, like, functionally playable.
As games. It has taken longer for video game movies to get there, movies based on a video game franchise. But there have been some notable examples of video game movies along the way. Dave, when you think of one of the earliest video game movies, and one that certainly was not well received, what comes to mind?
Honestly, and it's the one that I think is potentially the most unforgivable, but Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
That's the one, because it's literally the title of the game is the title of the movie. The characters are directly synced. They brought the whole, like, save the princess sort of ideal along, and they managed to not use the source material in so much as, the main character is Mario. They
basically did like an alternate universe, like as alternate universes you would have to get for Boater to enjoy playing Call of Duty as his main game. They went even farther than that, because if they build it from the start as this is a different take on the core concepts of Super Mario Brothers, and if that kind of thing had been done in games before, then it might have been better. But no, they were like, alright, cool, it's a Mario Brothers movie, and then people show up and they're like, am I already high? I don't think so.
Boater, apparently you know a lot of people that go to movies baked. That's the second time you've referenced, like...
Listen, my Twitter has been lit lately. In more ways than one.
I will ask, did anyone out there, or did you see the Dead or Alive movie?
No.
Oh, Oh,
I remember hearing things about that.
Let me tell you about a movie that saw the Street Fighter films and said, "Hold my beer." I will say the reason Young Dave went to FYE to go purchase that, and it's over 10 years ago now, so I can say Young Dave, is because Kevin Nash played one of my favorite characters to play in DOA, and you can tell that I do not play DOA very well because my favorite character is Bass. He's the stereotypical big brawler character.
Yeah.
He's the slowest of all, but his for DPS, damage per strike, does in fact do it. And I love the fact that he does wrestling moves. So the fact that Kevin Nash, a performer that I really enjoyed growing up, was in the movie, I was like, I gotta go see it. And then I regretted it because the movie started and I thought to myself, what have I done?
Mr. Wet brings up the Mortal Kombat movie, and I'm trying to think if it was that one or was it the Street Fighter movie that gave us the greatest villain comeback of all time. For you, the day that Name of Villain came to your village, changed your life, was the pivotal moment of your whatever. But for me, it was Tuesday. Which one was that? Like, that is the greatest villain comeback of all time. And years later, Thanos had like 50% of something that good, where Scarlet Witch is like, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are. It's a mere shade of Bison. You know,
It was M. Bison.
Bison came to your town was the most important day of your life, but for me it was Tuesday. And it's the greatest villain line ever.
The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Oh yeah, and the follow-up is like, but it was Wednesday.
I will miss Raul Julia forever. I love the fact that he took that role on just because his kids were like, "Do this, Dad," and he was like, "Well, all right."
All right, yeah. I mean, certainly there have been some good roles from that. I feel like that's one of the reasons Gene Wilder did like Willy Wonka was because his kids really loved. No, that's why Roald Dahl wrote Willy Wonka, is because his kids wanted him to write a story like that.
I was gonna say the other half might be that him especially, he just liked weird roles where he gets to just kind of nonsensically.
No, really.
Leggett Reaper mentions a film.
Mentions Doom. So first off, well, before we get to that one, we'll say the '90s were filled with terrible video game movies. They made them, but they were there.
I have Wikipedia's list. So just the 90s. The cutoff is 2001 when Lara Croft Tomb Raider came out.
Right.
1999, we saw Wing Commander. Yeah.
Oh no! You know what? I watched that movie. It is not. I don't think it relates to the game that much, but it is a good, somewhat low-budget Starfighter movie.
Oh my god! It is Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
Well.
Yes!
Voter, we're watching a movie someday.
I watched that with a friend when I visited his place a few years ago. We're like, man, we really want to make a Starfighter movie. Breakdown of 238 Hypatia, which is still in post-production, directly made because of watching Wing Commander. So I'm going to give that one a pass, even though it is very obviously low-budget sci-fi of the 90s.
How can it be low-budget if it's got both Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard in it?
Okay, they blew their budget on casting.
Before that, in 1997, people were graced with Mortal Kombat Annihilation, a movie, honestly, I enjoyed. 2 years before that, the domestic audience got Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
A year before that, they got Street Fighter and that wonderful Raul Julia playing M. Bison.
Yes.
A year before that, they got Double Dragon.
Right, there was... Right, number one, Double Dragon was a movie. Number two, right, Double Dragon was a game.
I mean...
That's a game that didn't continue on like
no.
these others have.
Oh, God, no. Double Dragon had its time, its place, and it kicked a lot of ass, and then it was a movie, and then it died. A slow death. And the one that started it all and somehow didn't sink it was 1993's Super Mario Bros.
So you mentioned a cutoff of Tomb Raider, and I think that's around where, like, say what you will about it, I think it was a fine movie.
An action film, for no doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a good action film. And you know what? Because Tomb Raider was never a single plot, because there have been sequels where they do different things, I think it fit just fine.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've watched it, so I can't tell you a ton of specifics, but I don't remember being disappointed with it. Granted, I was also 15 at the time.
So,
Yes.
well, we'll tackle that really quickly. Let's be totally honest. If you were a fan of Tomb Raider in the early 2000s, you were around 15 years of age as well, as Boder and I were thereabouts. And you know why you like Tomb Raider, and you then know why you were very excited to see Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft. It's not a shameful thing. It's just good casting.
While I'm not going to deny any of that, I will also say for the gameplay value, which then how that translated to the plot and such in the movie, was the plot of the movie nonsense? Yes.
But the
plot of the games are nonsense too. And that's the thing, and I've seen a couple good write-ups of that, is that you can't directly translate a game to a movie, and I will get on this in a bit, because like if you translate Halo the game into a movie, most of it is take a few steps, shoot the gun a bunch of times, take a few steps, shoot the gun a bunch of times, maybe duck into cover, then pop back out and, hey, guess what? Shoot the gun a bunch of times. So, like, games are getting better at having engaging plots, but for movies to go from the games, they need to have a plot to drive the movie. And it might be just as ridiculous as the game's plot was, or they need to make something up that goes way off of what people are familiar with.
Yeah.
But I think that Tomb Raider did a good job with that. Later that decade was Doom, as Legate Reaper says. And Doom, in addition to being very loosely based on the video games, also did the much celebrated first-person shooter sequence. Which I watched Doom again about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. That FPS sequence is still really cool.
Is it?
Yeah, it still holds up really well. The rest of the movie, I think, is fine. Is it a good Doom movie? Honestly, I never played that much Doom past the first one, which, had no plot to speak of. So I can't really say. It's not going to hell. It's just, genetic experiment type stuff on Mars. So, yeah, I can see why a lot of people are like, no, I want to fight actual demons, not genetic mutants.
I need to confess something.
Go ahead.
I have crapped on that film to no end and have not watched it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I looked at the poster of it and I thought, no, I've played many too many of the Doom games to give this film a shot. I just couldn't.
Here's why you should watch it. Number one, it's when Dwayne Johnson, formerly Dwayne The Rock Johnson, was just being billed in movies as The Rock.
Okay. All right. I can go for that.
Number two, it's a really good Carl Urban role.
That's right. He was in it.
He was the main character in the movie.
So he was the Doom guy?
There was no analog of the Doom guy, Dave. I'm sorry.
Well, then it's not a Doom movie. All right. So I will go
recommend that
I
you
will
watch
see it as a
this
Carl
movie.
Urban action film
Yes, go see
featuring
it as
The
a
Rock.
Carl Urban action film featuring The Rock and Rosamund Pike, who has embarrassingly little to do.
What? What do you mean embarrassing little to do in such a
Testosterone-filled movie?
In such a wrought film full of twists, turns, and they didn't even put it on Mars. You're not
No,
even
it was on
fighting
Mars.
Demons
It's on Mars.
from hell.
It's on Mars.
Mars demons.
I mean, the movie's on Mars. I mean,
Good.
not that you're ever on the surface of Mars. You're in a research station that the exposition tells you is Mars, but you're never on the surface or anything like that, so...
Did you ever see the live-action Prince of Persia,
I did not. With
Starring,
Jake Gyllenhaal?
starring Jake Gyllenhaal?
I did not. And to be honest, I never played the... When people think of Prince of Persia, they think of the Sands of Time trilogy.
Oh, yes.
I never played that. I only ever played the 2008 standalone game,
Okay.
which might feature on the Citadel sometime.
The stunt work in it was really cool, and
Nice.
for a movie about a dude that has these daggers that can reverse time, the movie did not spend a lot of time having Jake Gyllenhaal fall off of a thing and then go, wait, that's not how that happened, and then rewind the whole sequence and make you watch the last 45 minutes of the movie again. Which, to be honest, if they did it once, I would have respected the hell out of it. But they did a very good and very clever way of using the sands of time during the film. So that one, to be honest, doesn't necessarily get panned per se as much as just ooh, what a choice of film.
I'm going to say that my favorite video game movie that I have seen, and that is to say a movie that is based on a video game franchise, and I will say why I qualify like that in a minute. My favorite movie that was based on a video game franchise was Assassin's Creed, which came out, I think, 2016, maybe 2015. And for that, like they kept the core concepts of Abstergo, Assassins versus Templars, things like that, having a modern day storyline and a past storyline.
Yeah.
They spent a little more time in the modern day storyline, but it's Michael Fassbender, so you're interested and you're invested. He does some great work in that one. And in the games, the Animus, which lets you explore your genetic memory, which is not how that works, but fine, game, we'll take it. Fine. Is just a bed that you lie down on and then you're there. And obviously that's not very cinematically engaging. So what they did was that the Animus was this armature that's in the middle of this huge room. And anything that you're doing in the past, your physical body is mirroring in the present. And they use that to really good cinematic effect. So, you know, when he's jumping from rooftop to rooftop, they would show him in the present day doing this in like midair, held up by the armature with like little hologram type things showing the rooftops as they would scroll past.
That's awesome.
It is so good. Like, it is probably my favorite movie adapted from a video game franchise. Dave, I think we're going to need to have a viewing night where we watch that, we watch Doom, and you bring a couple movies to watch as well. Where we talk about, hey, here's movies that we've probably poo-pooed in the past. Let's just sit down and grab a crate of popcorn chicken and go at it.
That reference, thank you very much, CJ Playmaker, for that reference, by the way. CJ Playmaker, speaking of which, agrees Assassin's Creed, and though he never played it, Detective Pikachu.
Agreed. I really like the Detective Pikachu movie from this past year, from
Didn't
2019. But Ryan Reynolds
I understand
playing a PG version of Deadpool inside of Pikachu. And that's why I went to see it. Then it's like, oh, Bill Nye is in this. A couple other, like, and the people that aren't named faces, whatever,
yeah,
all did really well. The Pokemon came out really great when it comes to taking what has previously just been digital and CG, whatever, into the real world. Like, Pikachu's fluffy. I want to pet him. He would probably give me Static Shock from the first, like... But he's fluffy. Lickitung is gross.
You know what? I'm going to say, as much as Super Mario Bros. Like should go down as everyone's like worst, and it's so bad it has to be good because it didn't kill video games as a movie franchise forever.
Yeah. Like, you could hate watch it, I think, pretty successfully.
Yes. The one that I'm constantly disappointed in myself for watching, and in some cases liking them in the past, was the Resident Evil movies.
Okay.
Just because they blatantly, as the years went on, I was like, you know what? They can't get worse. They just can't.
Mr. Mime was even more horrifying.
But like I kept telling myself, they can't get worse. They just can't. And yet, every time I would pop one of those into the DVD player, you know what? Damn it all, they were worse. They managed to be worse. What was even more unforgivable about it was at the end of one of them, because they have all flooded together into one film. There was one I saw in theaters with my friends, and we had a great time, and we were not in any way mentally altered. But it's because we were just laughing about it. But it was one where at the end of the film, zombies had taken over the world, the virus had spread, things were screwed, but on the rooftop of the White House, or on top of this big building, was all of the mainstay characters for the Resident Evil franchise. The ones that you knew, they had survived, and I was like, all right, great, I'm looking forward to the next film. And you start the next film, and they, in a cutaway scene, go, they're all dead. They all died.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Not even on screen.
Oh.
They just killed all of them.
Oh,
and it was the worst. How can you kill a man that can punch a gigantic boulder out of the sky? How can you kill him off screen? How can you kill Leon S. Kennedy and those lovable locks? Like, how in God's name can you kill Ada Wong? Nothing could kill Ada Wong. I will say...
They added Superman as Mila Jovovich to survival horror.
I will say something that I do constantly look back on though is the Mortal Kombat movies. Like I will genuinely sit there and watch them because
That's what I hear, yeah.
the expectation is not very high for them because I'm also really shite at Mortal Kombat, so I don't expect for myself to be very like highbrow with it and be like, that's not how that would happen in that fight.
I mean, any movie that you go into, and this, although they're getting better, the same remains with video game movies. You need to go in with the expectations to be entertained for the movie on its own terms, not to be able to favorably compare it to its source franchise. So again, I think that Assassin's Creed did a good job of that. I think Detective Pikachu did a good job of that. We're starting to get there, but there's been some stinkers. Anything more to add on that?
You mean, speaking of stanker films, let me just scroll down here. Exactly! I talked about him on the one program, and by God, if he doesn't sell by the weekend Wednesday, I'm going to rant about that MFer. So, the film I cannot find... Oh, it wasn't based on a video game. That's why it's not going to be on this list. But the Adam Sandler video game movie...
Oh, Pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, to be fair, that's also, like, games... movies... Oh, right. That's what I wanted to say, is that movies that are about video games, but not on a specific franchise. So, Pixels, Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds coming out this year.
Jumanji.
Yep.
Ready Player One.
So, yeah, what did you want to say about those?
Just some of the films that aren't based upon video game but borrow from the culture and the
Some
source
of them
material.
are super fan servicey and don't have much to do on their own.
Yes. The one that's both fan servicey and I feel like I felt really satisfied at the end of it every time I watch it is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yes.
It's literally a video game, a movie.
Because
Like,
that's not fan servicey, that is someone who like lives that life and is immersed in that, written by people who are immersed in that, directed by people who are immersed in that, and able to use that language to tell a story that isn't about video games. So, the other one that I want to add really quick, I almost forgot, is that the game that has come closest to being, you know how I mentioned shoot the gun a few times, walk forward, shoot the gun a few times,
Yeah.
if you were to faithfully adapt something?
Absolutely.
Hardcore Henry.
You know, I still have not watched that.
It is entirely told as a first-person camera kind of thing, which in and of itself, haha, first-person shooter, but like the way that the game is structured is that there is an intro level, and then there's a little bit of dialogue, like a cutscene. Then there's an action set piece, the level. Then there's some dialogue and a cutscene going somewhere else. At one point, you're at the top of a stairwell, some guys are coming up, and the guy you're with is like, oh, that's a lot of them. Try tossing a nade down there, laddie. I'm like, that's exactly what you would say in a tutorial bit for how to throw a grenade. Try tossing a nade down there, laddie. Press LB to toss grenade. Like, I wrote an article about how much, like, the final boss fight of the movie, because it's a final boss fight, brings platforming into the game where previously there was none. I'm looking at you, Half-Life.
Ooh. Another movie that I will give some credit to that I enjoy, that the main content is not necessarily totally video games, but a lot of it is Grandma's Boy.
Okay.
Stoner comedy, hilarious. Dude moves in with his grandma, plays a lot of video games, and rocks a lot of ganj. Very fun. But honestly, I don't think anything can beat my first viewing of Tron.
Okay.
Just that whole idea of like a
That's
video
an
game,
ideal, absolutely.
like the video game world exists and this kid gets sucked into it and all that stuff. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah, that's a really good one to kind of end on. And that, like, before, while video games were still just like arcade machines, making up a movie that, you know, unless Starfighter kind of did this somewhat too, but making up a movie where this game exists in the fiction of the movie, where they're not beholden to anything that we've seen before, they're able to do what they want with it, is a really good approach. So, cool. You know what? Before we like run out of time just talking about video game movies, and by the way, in chat, tell us some of your favorites, some of your least favorites. We do want to hear them.
League of Reaper says Half-Life Alyx.
That's the new Half-Life VR game that's coming out. It's not a movie or anything. There hasn't been a movie based on it, so we'll see how that goes. Talk about first person, though. So let's talk about... So we are here in the enlightened future of 2020. You know, the year that Day 2 threatened World War III. The enlightened year of 2020. And in that barbaric past of 2019, there was quite a lot of video games.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's fair that we try to go over and say, hey, what were some of our top games of last year? And what were some of the stinkers? I don't know. I don't know how many games you played. I know how many games I played. I don't know. Just do you want to kick off talking about some of the best stuff that came out of last year?
I gladly will. One of the ones that did not get a lot of play on my channel, but I still to this day very fondly hold on to, is a game that did not, under the stanchions, strictly adhered to on Behind the Counter. It is not a real game, because it was not $59.99 upon release.
$39.99.
This one was actually not even $39.99.
Oh, God.
It was $19.99.
Wow.
And my $20, I could not buy it quickly enough in January when Onimusha Warlords got re-released on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but is a re-release really a 2019 game?
Because of what they did to it, and they managed to upgrade the graphics and things like that, and they fixed what the game just crashes and things like that,
Okay.
in my opinion, and especially because that's the reason I played it. I didn't finish Onimusha Warlords Yonder Time and Ago. Got really bored and left it.
Okay.
This re-release, for me, made it a new game because everything I saw in it was new to me.
Okay. So what we'll do? So do you have 5 games written down? And I have 5 games. You kind of asked.
Yes.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we'll kind of go back and forth. And we're gonna see if there's any crossover here. In no particular order, because if I was to rank games, I don't know. I might be able to pick a best game of the year, but
Yeah.
in no particular order. Control, which I got for Christmas, and which I will play, but that I watched as you were playing. That game basically does the SCP wiki kind of thing. It seems really cool to play some really fun mind games on the player. Like, has good action, yes, but it's more of a puzzle game, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, so like that was really cool to watch you play that. I look forward to popping that in and giving it a shot myself. Yeah, Control for one of my top games of 2019.
One of mine, and we're going to go under this, which is just Untitled Goose Game. I was enchanted, there was a dedicated honk button, and I was in. I still play it now. I don't play it on stream, but I play it when I'm sitting in bed, where I'm like, you know what, I'm not really tired of it. I'm going to go terrorize that kid with the glasses and just chase him around.
There's not a ton of fresh replayability in it, but it's fun to experiment and say, oh, how can I get the vase to break? Oh, if I get thrown out of the house and then they throw the vase after me, it breaks. Haha, that's cool.
Or just how much of that town, from the perspective of a minute creature, is interactable with. Like, I can get someone from at the bar at the end of the game and take something of theirs and bring it to the shop at the front, and eventually they will show up at the shop to buy that thing.
Yeah.
Like, really fun things, and I love the mechanics of it. I love the simplicity, and yet the eccentricities of the simplicity.
Yeah, I agree. I had Untitled Goose Game on my list as well, because not only was it, kind of like fun to play, and it's fun to be a bastard goose running around the place, but it resulted in like so much community, so many like jokes and memes and stuff that it was fun. Like, on release, it's the same kind of thing that you got from when Portal came out way back in 2007, to be part of that community and having that shared language of jokes about the game and enthusiasm about the game. So yeah, also Untitled Goose Game on my list as well. CJ Playmaker left us a list there. We'll go. Please put together your list. We'll go after those after we've kind of gone over ours.
Butter, did you want to cover one of yours next now, since I stole Untitled Goose Game from you?
I will say Jedi Fallen Order.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. I am on the final boss fight. I hate boss fights. I've never enjoyed a boss fight. I'm only relief when it's done, no actual satisfaction from the game. I'm on the final boss fight. It sucks and I hate it. The rest of the game I'm really enjoying. The exploration is really fun. The mechanics that you unlock, like you brought up the whole like remembering in the past and whatever. It works for me. I really enjoy, the double jump takes way too long to get. It's the last power you relearn, the double jump, even though right at the beginning of the game you're like, it's right there.
But
if I could jump a second time, I could get there. And it's the last one you learn, and that's frustrating.
But all of the Jedis do the double jump all the time. Like,
What Jedi in the movies has ever done a double jump?
you know
what I
what?
thought.
I'm gonna find that clip. I'm gonna find that clip and I'm gonna show you.
But no. So for the most part, I'm really enjoying the game. I've been playing the hell out of it this past week. It's been a really good time. Jedi Fallen Order.
one of mine on my list indefinitely at this point is Resident Evil 2. It took on a life of its entire own on these remasters and things like that, and breathed life into a franchise that was actually heading in a very positive direction after recovering from what was the peak of 4, and then they had 5, which was kind of a stumble, being that people didn't necessarily want to play with just one person. And if you didn't play with just one person, the AI was awful. And then there was 6.
No, there wasn't.
And then there was, but then the rest of the games came out, and they have really recovered and made a good point of this.
Speaking of which, the RE2 re-release is another one where you're saying that like the game was just so revolutionized by its re-release that it deserves to be considered a separate game.
I wholly believe so under that auspice that you're putting it under. But I really enjoyed it, and I will be playing it on the weekend Wednesday tomorrow because, by God, it's 2020 and I have to finish one of the 5 single-player games that I started.
God of boy. God of boy.
So yeah, RE2 is one of my honorable mentions.
CJ Playmaker mentions, I eventually got to the point in Jedi Fallen Order where I needed the actual Force in real life in order to get through some of the boss fights. Yeah, I'm sitting here with my controller, like, trying to, like, twerk it and break it. I can't really do that.
Twerk it?
Not twerk it, torque. Torque, like this. Where, like, I've been playing on Jedi Knight difficulty, the 3rd of 4, and I think next time I go back, I'm going to try for an hour on the final boss fight, and if I can't do it, I'm knocking it back down to storytelling mode and just kill her. Anyway, Outer Worlds was my next one.
Nice.
Yep, I've talked about it here on the show before, but if you weren't watching back in the heyday, well, in the dirty old days of 2019, if you're here now during Premiere Week in 2020, it's Mass Effect crossed with Firefly crossed with Skyrim. It's got the Mass Effect kind of thing of gather your team together and do a thing. Firefly because it's a space western kind of thing. Skyrim because of the developer and like the mechanics, first person, everything like that. Crossed with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because the thing has so much satire just spilling out of its ears. I enjoy it. I enjoyed Outer Worlds. I'm finished with it and I enjoyed it. Yeah, one of my top games of 2019.
I gotta say, and I'm gonna put this on this list on simply because of how much fun I had playing it with my friends. But MLB The Show 19, It was not that good. Partially because my favorite team was awful this year. And so there was no reason for me to buy the deluxe edition, but I did to play it with CJ and Jeff, and I had so much fun playing it, so it just made that game for me. I will always have a positive association with it. Also, the fact that they did such a good job capturing all of these personnel from the broadcast booth all the way down to like players and personnel on the field, except for the on-field announcer for the MLB team. They did a terrible job of capturing her. So anytime she would come onto screen, all of us would scream as long and as loud as we could because they were just putting this goblin creature. And it was like, and now down to the field to the goblin. It was like, ah! Like, and so he did that for like 6 games. It was simply a positive experience that I'll remember and hold on to.
That does sound like
because
it's more
of that.
in spite of the game than because of the game.
The mechanics were also,
Okay,
I will say, for an MLB game, the mechanics and everything keep getting better every year. I don't play them as actively as I want to or should to be able to stream them and things like that. And yet, here I am playing them and enjoying them because the mechanics are just that easy to jump into, and yet there's nuances to learn to master.
Yeah.
So it really does carry the torch of games you're going to get, and the fact that MLB in 2021 is going to be on all of the platforms is going to make that game. It's what started a revolution in MLB.
So we needed to make a top 5 list of 2019 games, and to be fair, I really only played 4. Control, Jedi Fallen Order, Untitled Goose Game, and Outer Worlds. So the last one that I came up with, game number 5, is a Android game called Archero. It's a mobile game that just basically I've been playing in my spare time. Gotta go take a crap, I'm playing the game. It's fun. It's fun. It's got RPG elements. It's this like it's not nearly in the same league as others, but I needed 5 games to fill it out.
Let's be entirely honest, though. That's what gaming is meant for.
Absolutely, yeah,
It's a distraction. It's what you do with it. It's how you use it. The fact that it's your Dookie game is hilarious. But I anything else to add to that game?
No, it's fine. It's a serviceable game, and I've been playing it regularly since Thanksgiving. So I mean, there's games that like you'll download and play for like a week, and you're like, oh, this is actually garbage when it gets into the mid game. You know, because all games will progress quickly in the first couple hours or first couple days to hook you, and then just be a slog. No, this one does a good job of balancing that. Yeah, it's fun. It's fine. It's called Arturo. Look it up, I guess. Apparently, like, they somehow had the marketing budget to get PewDiePie as an influencer, which I didn't even realize until like a day or two ago. But just to try to get the word out there. So it's been doing really well. It's on a lot of charts.
Before I go into my 5th, I do want to say League at Reaper mentioned Greedfall, a fantastic game that I had the pleasure of watching Anticlass Prime beat, which was a lot of fun. So I didn't have to buy it and then suffer through because I am not good at the mechanics in that game. Outer Worlds also mentioned Borderlands 3, Code Vein, which if you like Souls games, you'll like Code Vein.
Yep.
And one that makes me love League at Reaper all the more, Earth Defense Force Iron Rain.
Okay. Actually, looking at some of those, I realized another game that I got but haven't played yet is Astral Chain for the Switch. So like I want to play that, but I can't. Without having played a minute of it, I can't really put it on my list yet.
Do we want to do some honorable mentions or?
Well, let's also. CJ Playmaker gave his top games: Fire Emblem Three Houses,
nice.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare,
okay,
Pokemon Sword/Shield, yep, absolutely, Apex Legends.
It did.
Don't do the dance.
Don't
do the
dance.
And Jedi Fallen Order.
Which is the sound CJ probably made when he hooved Jedi Fallen Order away.
Honorable mention, again, those are my 5. I don't really have anything else to add that I have played.
League at Reaper, damn, I forgot Fire Emblem. That's the tough thing, though, thinking about an entire year of gaming, unless you're like me.
I literally last night brought up the Wikipedia article of 2019 in gaming, and this leaves off a lot of like cool indie games.
Oh, you know absolutely.
What? Heave Ho, which is out on PC and Switch, which I forget if you were sticking around for that long, but we played it a bit at New Year's.
No, I must have gone home by the time we wrote that out.
Yeah, so like that's actually really fun. I'll put that in instead of Arturo. It's a great couch co-op game. That's a puzzle game and kind of reminds me a little bit of Splosion Man.
Okay.
Insofar as yes, there is a solo campaign, but you get more out of it doing it as a team and trying to coordinate, or not trying to coordinate and intentionally sabotaging the people sitting on the couch next to you. Also a lot of fun. So Heave Ho, which is on PC and Switch.
So my 5th game, or I'll do some honorable mentions to be honest. Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay. Really lifted up.
Actually,
as a game that came out as a prequel. Wow, way to do so much with an idea that we know how this has to end, or at least how certain characters have to be out. Mm-hmm. Great job with it. Fun mechanics. At day of release was fully playable on the campaign, which. Because a lot of games not getting that kind of love.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I like Jedi Fallen Order is that it is a single-player game. It's not a multiplayer game with a single-player campaign thrown in. It's a straight-up single-player game.
A dishonorable mention to Madden 20. You ruined that weekend Wednesday, you piece of crap.
EA Games, it's in the patches.
Like that game, I brought my friend from Albany and my friend Ryan, who I still have to get up to play this game now that it's patched. That actually might be next weekend Wednesday, if I can manage to get him over. But we had so much fun. What?
Madden 20.
Madden 20 just did not work the day of release. Which, how do you not have a game that's literally a copy and paste of the last year's game not work? The Bills were finally good, and I wanted to play as the Bills. And yeah. Speaking
That's
of
why
which,
the Bills being good broke the game.
Make sure to tune in tomorrow to the No Look podcast, where they will inevitably discuss my Buffalo Bills and the fact that they lost to the Houston Texans. Not bitter, just acknowledging the truth. So Madden 20, just EA, get your stuff together. I will say a remaster that I really am looking forward to playing, but just can't dedicate the time to, Link's Awakening for the Switch. I absolutely want to have that, but League Reaper, it says volumes about 2019 that 2 of your top 5s were remakes. It really does talk about Dave's gaming in 2019, about the fact that I don't stream enough to finish the games that I play.
Well, I think it says something though about 2019 in that me, who doesn't work in video games, still played 4 really solid games from this past year. I'm gonna count Control as those, even though I wasn't the one behind the controller for that.
But still,
like, there was some really solid stuff, and Untitled Goose Game is the one that points to there being some of these lower budget, kind of wonky knockoff games increasingly being bigger things rather than looking to the AAA publishers.
My 5th game, and it absolutely is my top game of 2019, because there's so much now behind it for me personally. I had so much fun playing it during St. Jude's Play Live. I had such great donations in the time, such good engagements. I've broken so many personal Twitch goals while playing it. And that game, I also met one of my very good friends online because of it, and that is Days Gone.
Yeah.
That game, from start to finish, just does it for me. And I love almost, like, the only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that it needed patching. But to be honest, the game was communicative. They were sending out tweets. They were sending out messages. They were fixing the game.
Having a creator being that involved with the community and that just there saying, "Hey, we realize this is an issue. We'll issue that patch with the fur on the hand and the." But yeah, for them to be there is just something that you don't see for a lot of the bigger developers, which is another point in favor of the smaller developers.
The other thing I really liked about that game was, for a plot-driven game, where really there is a linear storyline, there are deviations, but to be honest, you're going to tread a very similar path regardless of how you do it. There really is 1.5 million different ways of getting to that point. Mm-hmm. The fact that the bike, which is a critical part of the game, is fully customizable, and the fact that the weapons you use are absolutely up to the player, and the way you play the game is absolutely up to you, blew me away. Like, I cannot say enough good things about it, and if you have not played Days Gone, do yourself a favor. It's now on the greatest hits, so it costs probably around $20, $30 now. Get it.
That got there fast.
Play it. I just loved that game so much. Bought it day one and will never regret paying full price for it.
So that's your top 5?
Yes.
Do you have a top game? Can you pick a single game and say this was the best game of the year? I'm going to say Goose Game. Because the thing with Goose Game is that it was short and didn't overstay its welcome. It did everything it wanted to do to perfection. Whereas Jedi Fallen Order, I have some issues. Outer Worlds, I had a few issues. Goose Game was, for what it was, a $20 hour-and-a-half, 2-hour game. Perfection for that run.
Yeah, under those guys again.
And again, don't by all means just do it by my definition, but for whatever you think.
I will once again give the nod to Days Gone.
Cool.
It's a game that I just can't uninstall from my hard drive. It's full, and I need to make room, and I make room for it. I really enjoy it, and I cannot say enough good things about it. It's a single-player game in an era full of forced online multiplayer where I don't want to necessarily have to play with others. Honorable mention to Overwatch. Long may it live. It will never go away. In fact, my Friday Overwatch crew is going to be expanding.
Oh, God.
I've convinced more people to buy that game on PlayStation 4 and join me in playing on it. Simply the best. Simply the best. Wow. It lives on in its own time and its own memory. Another honorable mention that I didn't get to, but Luigi's Mansion 3. Mm-hmm. A game that somehow, with the most meek Nintendo character, lived up to the ungodly amount of hype that it had behind it. Because Luigi's Mansion 1 was fun. And it was fun, and it still carries a price tag for the GameCube games.
Yeah,
if you have
it
that in
does.
your attic right now, you hold on to that, because it's gold. And it's going to value the same way gold does. It's only going to go up until there's a world war, and then it's going to go down. But then after the war and all the shamblings, it's going to go straight back up once people remember that the GameCubes were nigh invincible. But it managed to live up to and then not screw it up.
Yeah.
Like, they just kept the mechanics, they kept it good, and they kept it solid. The holidays were upon us, and I got a couple gifts. I know Claire was nice enough to purchase me Modern Warfare.
Yeah. As I mentioned, like I had gotten Jedi Fallen Order and Control. Steph got a couple games too.
What games did Steph get? Steph always plays like different games from you, but sometimes they cross over to me.
Well, it's interesting because we've tried to talk about it a few times before, but Steph has been playing Death Stranding, which I know that you've been enjoying. So
Yes.
so she's been playing that the past few nights, and it's been really interesting because like the game tries to do this thing where it tries to like nurture your like maternal instincts or whatever, which is just really odd. But then for Steph, it does the exact opposite. Which, if there were ever any question, just says to me, "We're not having kids." As I watch her play this game, and I'm right there with her. But no, it's been really interesting. So I didn't know if we could talk about that some more between that and just some of the other mechanics that I've seen with it.
Now, Boater, I would absolutely love to, but damn it all, it looks like we are entirely out of time. So it looks
That's
like
a
we'll
shame.
have to push Death Stranding to next week's episode once again.
That's a shame.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Steph
boys
probably
and
won't be
girls,
done with the game for like a year. It seems like one of those anyway.
children of all ages, this has been another episode.
Dishonorable mention to Anthem. I agree. Boo.
Anthem was a 2019 game, so sliding right under the gear is an insult to that. Absolutely make sure to check out all the episodes here at Insane Games TV on Twitch and on Facebook Gaming. Tomorrow we've got Ring the Bell, the No Look podcast, and the Weekend Wednesday. On Thursday, we've got Thirsty Thursday and Duty Calls. And this weekend, we've got Insane Games Live. You never know who's going to show up on those episodes, what games are going to get played, and how much smack is going to get talked, backed up, or unfounded.
For now, stay tuned tonight for The Citadel, where I will be playing Remember Me. This was a game that was going to be my very first Let's Play, but just for various reasons, it didn't quite end up happening. The game wasn't quite as quality as it could have been, and I hadn't found my voice. Here we are, 6 years later. The game's quality hasn't improved, but my voice has gotten there. I know what I'm doing, and by God, The Citadel is just the right place to talk about why the game doesn't quite work in some respects and why it works so well in other respects. So 9 o'clock here, or frankly, as soon as we can turn the set around, Remember Me is coming on The Citadel right here at Insane Games TV.
Make sure, while we are live here right now, just hit that heart in that corner
Do
up
it.
there. Jam it, like it, follow it, share it. Also give some love to YouTube at Insane Games TV, Facebook Gaming at Insane Games TV, Twitch at Insane Games TV _ Twitter. Our Twitter handle is Insane Games TV. And on Instagram, Insane Games TV, all one word. Do not miss a minute. You never know when something crazy is going to happen and we're going to go live, especially as this channel grows. The personalities and things that we are doing on this channel, just don't kick yourself. Just don't miss it. I look greatly forward to The Citadel. I look greatly forward to Remember Me because I don't remember that game in the least.
It's the best irony. So thank you all so much for watching right here. Cool. And as the bots flood in, we are going to say sayonara for now. Thank you for watching the Nerd Glasses podcast, and I will see you in just a few minutes on The Citadel. Good night!